Shotzi. Hello, my cookie. Hello, Aki. Okay, today is the 16th of August, 2019. This little baby is doing well. 34 weeks. And yes, I quite understand why people say you might be ready to pop soon, because it does feel like you're gonna pop. But anyway, I said I wanted to try and do this weekly. I don't think I've managed so far, but anyway, I'm trying. Today's topic is my little journey about Flexitarian. What do we call it? Flexitarianism. Anyway, it's like a flexi diet. So in May last year, I started watching all these videos on YouTube and on Netflix, and just really, I dubbed it the slippery slope project, because the more I watched and the more I learned, the more it kind of hit home with me. And it was just all about, so there were various ones. I've got a whole list of movies that I've watched because I would like for Oma and Opa to watch it, and unfortunately I don't think Danny Erika or Tante Liesel or Franco or anyone would be interested. But anyway, the point is, when you watch something like Forks Over Knives, or I still have not had the courage to watch Earthlings, which was apparently made in the 80s. I'm sorry for the sweat spot. No, this makes pasta sauce on me, myself. And there's something on YouTube called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear, which I was like not even 5 minutes in and I just had to switch it off. So it was a very emotional year for me. Many nights that I had to cry myself to sleep. Like I said, the more you learned, the more you went down this rabbit hole of finding out how oblivious we are to the choices that we make regarding our food. And eventually I had the courage, I got courage together to speak to Daddy about it, and that was only in May this year. So about a year later, and I kind of said to him, you know what, I don't want to make massive major changes. There was a girl just down the road that I had been in conversation about this a lot, because I kind of found a couple of mentors who had gone vegetarian or vegan, and she was the sales manager of a big supplement company and was a nutritionist by trade, and went vegan in January this year and only lasted until June. And I thought, like, oh my goodness, if she can't manage it with all the proper supplements and the knowledge and the everything, then there's no chance of us doing it either. So like I said, I had a lot of time to think about it, and eventually I came up with this like long-term plan where I thought, like, let's make it a 5-year thing where we just try and over 5 years, because I'm definitely not cooking one meal for myself, one meal for Dad, and one meal for you guys. Like, I wanted all of us to do it. So I sat Dad down and I asked him whether he would be okay with one night meat, one night fish, and one night vegetarian. And he, surprisingly enough, was fine. He was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I burst into tears like 3 times, so maybe that helped. But anyway, he was very nice about it. And now, 6 months in, he doesn't really complain too terribly much, and I don't think I've taken things too far either. You know, we do still have meat from time to time. We definitely still drink cow's milk and cheese, and you know, so it's more of a vegetarian path, I suppose, than vegan or plant-based. But I've just tried to incorporate a lot more vegetarian meals into our diet, and like I experimented quite extensively with like nut cheeses and nut butters and nut milks, but I suppose I also just got a little bit too engulfed in it too quickly, because it isn't an easy mindset to change. I mean, I'm almost 40. It's really difficult to go from my Afrikaans meat and veg diet to this almost completely plant-based diet. So it what I'm trying to say is that it was so nice because this lady down the road kind of came to visit, and she said to me, you know, she's so tired of people making these blanket statements like everyone must be vegan, because it doesn't work for everyone, you know, and she's so tired of putting a label on it, because she tried to be a vegan and also a purist, which is like no toxic chemicals or anything in the house. And what it does is it makes you almost like a social pariah or like an outcast, and you can't go to a restaurant and eat out with your husband and your friends, you know, because you don't want the feta and the salad, and you're like, you know, so it does become quite isolating. And eventually she came up with this term, let's just call it Flexitarian, where you can, you know, if you go to a restaurant or if you go to someone's house, you can eat whatever they serve you. It is just really, really awkward for people when you pitch up with your own food or when you just refuse to eat their food. So, you know, and I see all these posts about recycling and the environment and stuff, where they say, like, we don't need 100 people doing this perfectly, being zero waste. We need millions and millions of people doing it okay, you know. That makes a bigger difference. So I think also what happened is that it kind of opened Pandora's box for me, and it started making me question all sorts of things. I eventually made it a religious issue. I could have turned it into a massive family feud, because I couldn't understand why no one else could understand this. And both my sisters still to this day, like, I'm sure, don't you know, they think I'm cuckoos. I think I've lost my mind. And my mum and her husband were very worried because now I'm pregnant and I'm not eating meat or eggs or whatever. I just kind of went off eggs anyway, because maybe just with the pregnancy that just didn't appeal to me anyway. So they were very worried and didn't understand, and I was constantly sending Oma little video clips on, you know, like stuff like the starch solution and other facts and figures that kind of reassure you that you can be 100% fine on a plant-based diet, pregnant or not, you know. But I think, like I said, it opens this box of why do I go to church, and the church doesn't talk about this. So I ended up getting hold of two ladies that I love and adore, and are incredible Christians. The one in Kenya and the one in the UK. The one in the UK was like, ugh, no, I agree with Brett. You know, God gave us all these things to eat and we must eat them. And that was the end of the conversation. And that's fine. I mean, she sent me one or two links to YouTube videos where people she respected dearly kind of said, you know, the point is that we shouldn't judge one another. You know, should a Christian decide to keep eating meat or to keep not worrying about the environment, which is so, according to me now that I've opened my eyes, it is so intertwined with our religion, is to conserve our planet. But anyway, and the lady in Kenya and I had hours and hours and hours of conversations backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. You know, she made really lovely suggestions on like how to manage, because I mean I send these voice notes to her 20 minutes long of me just crying, you know. So it was really an emotional time for me, and she helped me through it a lot. And eventually she said to me, you know what, I think you're having a little bit of an identity crisis. I've really worked out that I think I'm going to die in 2070 when I'm 90. No, 2050. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, when I'm 90. So, and I'm only 40 now, so it can't really be a midlife crisis because that should only happen in 45, but you know what I'm saying. Sorry. He's like, I think you're having an identity crisis where you're now just like asking all these questions that you have never asked before, and this, like I said, slippery slope. Why do we eat meat in the first place? I'm almost 40. I've never made the decision for myself to eat meat. It was how my mom brought me up. It's just how her mom brought her up, and her mom her, and so we can go back. And lots of these things that I've been watching kind of says that's what happens. It becomes a social norm and socially acceptable, which then kind of morphs in tradition, and then you don't want to mess with the tradition or the culture, which includes eating meat. But like, you have to start thinking for yourself and like making decisions on a personal level. And then I was wondering, like, why did I have kids? Why did I get married? Are these all things that we just kind of have to do, or that's expected of us, or that we just grow up thinking, oh, I want to be a bride one day, I want to be a princess or whatever. Why, if I change a nappy, no one thanks me, but if Daddy changes a nappy, I'm like, oh, thank you so much for doing that. That's really nice. It's like, it becomes like a feministic kind of thing almost, and it's really ridiculous if you start thinking about it, and if you start delving into like anyway. So then I started researching feminism and how we actually go through life without knowing ourselves terribly well or making decisions for ourselves, which is baffling. But anyway, so I obviously have no idea when you're going to be watching these videos, if you'll ever watch these videos, but I wanted you to know that I want you to ask these questions. I want you to challenge me and everything I teach you. I don't want you to assume that I am right. I don't want you to take my word for it, because I'm not qualified to tell you to eat meat or not to eat meat. I'm not qualified to tell you how to run your life. I have an opinion, but that's about it. Okay, guys, I've gotta go.